Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to the Michael D. Show. Today's author, it's very exciting to have her here. We're launching her book on July 4th because her book, I Walked Through Fire to Get Here, How I Survived and Thrived After Sex Trafficking. From San Antonio, Texas, Megan Connor, how are you doing today? Welcome to the Michael D. Show, and thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
You know, I'm so excited about your book. We have a mutual friend from Canada named Michelle that connected us. And tell us a little bit about your story. This is in the news a lot. In fact, there's a movie coming out this weekend, and we got the 4th of July coming. We're launching your book at exactly the right time. What does freedom mean to you? And what was walking through the fire like for you? Why did you write this book?
Well, I was sex trafficked at a young age, and I found myself repeating these abusive cycles in my life because of the programming that I went through during that time. And so freedom to me is breaking free from those cycles and learning to live an authentic life, free from abuse and free from coercive and manipulative people.
Well, that's just amazing. So as you're speaking everywhere, you're being interviewed everywhere. What are young people, and I guess this was a few years back when you were a teenager, right? And now you're a mom of 6 amazing human beings, and you're launching a best-selling book here. In fact, by the time you see this interview, friends, you can buy I Walked Through Fire to Get Here by Megan Connor. It's available everywhere, not only on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but everywhere books are sold, Target.com, Walmart.com. Nobody wants to believe that their relationship or their family or their corporation or their faith, their religion are involved in an abusive system. You were actually trafficked while you were still living at home. What should a parent be looking for, and how can that go on under the same roof?
Well, I talk in my book about, noticing changes in your child's behavior and giving them a safe environment at home where they feel like they can talk to you and tell you things. It's really difficult for an abuse victim to come forward and to talk about it. And it's difficult for parents to want to have those difficult conversations with their kids. And so part of what we talk about in the book is having open conversations with your children, being vulnerable with them so that they feel safe to be vulnerable with you.
You know, Chung Kim, movie producer and well-known human trafficking activist who has her own nonprofit, is coming out with her second movie every 40 seconds. And she endorses your book. And she says, I Walked Through Fire to Get Here is a must read. I could not put it down. She talks about in her book, the grooming tactics are getting more and more subtle. And now with the online world, I guess when you were back in high school, everybody didn't have a smartphone. Talk to me a little bit about grooming. Talk to me a little bit about some of the signs for people to watch for. And then I know in Chong's case, very abusive home background she came from, and it was actually a Marine Corps guy posing as a Marine Corps guy that she met at a bar when she was underage, and that bar wasn't supposed to be there, but he started grooming her. He took a liking to her, and she thought, this guy's really my boyfriend. What advice do you give at that point? How can young girls, preteen girls, how can parents educate and prevent this from happening?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I talk about in my book is how people who are trying to groom children need time and they need privacy with that person. And so teaching our kids to not accept invitations for private messages from people they don't know, and also trying to be vigilant about the people in their lives, coaches, pastors, anybody that the child spends a lot of one-on-one time with. And if they're starting to get uncomfortable questions or comments about their appearance or about their body, things like that. So it's really important for parents to have those conversations with their kids, asking them the questions. Did anything about that interaction make you feel uncomfortable? Were they asking you anything that was inappropriate? And just educating our kids about what is appropriate communication between adults and kids and coaches. It can be really tricky.
You know, I think that's great advice. And your book is available now everywhere, the hardcover, the paperback, the ebook, the audiobook's coming out later in the year, in the fall. And I know you're speaking everywhere. When you get on stage or speak on a podcast, what are some of the main things you tell your audiences from your book?
Talking about communication, keeping lines of communication open if you're a parent, being able to have tough conversations with your kids. And then just as an individual, taking time and space to remove yourself from situations and evaluate, how is this making me feel? Do I feel safe to leave this program? Am I going to be honored as a human being? Are my needs being met? Am I being, fulfilled in this program, or is it draining things from me?
So keep the lines of communication open. I think that's huge. At what age should a parent let their grandchild have a smartphone? We didn't have smartphones when I was a kid, and then my sons are in their 30s now. We gave them a flip phone, but they couldn't access the internet, so they weren't getting pinged. But I think there were still groomers out there on video game consoles messaging kids. So what age is the right age for a boy or girl to have a smartphone?
I think it really has to be a decision that parents make individually with their individual child. And one of the things I talk about in the book is how our kids are so different. And I have 6 of them, but none of them are the same. And they all needed different parenting styles, and they all needed different boundaries. And so I think it's important to make that decision on an individual basis. But one of the things I did with my older children when cell phones were first becoming real prevalent was that I had them turn their phones in at night before they went to bed, because that way I knew that they weren't alone in their room messaging and everything like that. It's important to have passwords, to share passwords, have your kids share those with you, and be comfortable, going through their messages with them and say, who is this person and what are you talking to this person about? It's a big job.
Well, I tell you, it's really powerful. You hear the stories of kids that are texting all night in their bedrooms, and then even at school, they've got their phone, and so they've got plenty of free time at school. I love what Brad Parks, a best-selling author of Say Nothing, says about your book, Megan. He says, Megan Connor has penned a compelling, beautifully told story. Her honesty, authenticity, and strength leave me in awe. And Janae Thompson, best-selling author of Looking for a Beautiful Person, says, as a single mom of 4 children, I think I Walked Through Fire to Get Here should be a must read for every parent, pastor, and educator. Tremendous job, Megan. So a lot of glowing review and praise. What was the hardest part for you about writing the book and actually getting it done? Because I'm sure reliving some of those traumas, did it just come back to you, or had you already worked through that and processed it?
Well, the reason I started writing the book was actually I started journaling while I was going through my therapy, trying to heal from all of these abusive situations that I had been in. And my journaling sort of evolved into a narrative. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought I really need to tell this story openly, because when I was going through it, I didn't think that there was anybody else who had gone through what I'd been through. And I didn't really have a lot of hope that I was going to be a healthy human being on the other side of this. And so I mainly wrote it for those people who are out there in similar situations, who are struggling to find sort of the will to go through the therapy process and to go through the healing and all of that. It's really, it can be so draining. And I wanted to give hope to other survivors.
In all the years that I've worked in recovery and as a pastor, working with people through this process, one of my mentors says we can either build a hospital at the bottom of the cliff, or we can warn pedestrians at the top of the cliff that the bridge is out. And to me, it's all about prevention. So I love it that your book does that. I love it that you're speaking everywhere. You have a tremendous story, and we're looking forward to having you back on when we've got more time to do a deep dive. What's the best way for people to find you, to message you, to have you on their podcast, or to have you speak on their stage at a human trafficking event somewhere around the country, or I guess even around the world, because you can do it virtually, even as a busy mom of 6. And I think, how many grandkids do you have? Do you have any grandkids?
Just one so far.
One grandson, grandson, right? That's awesome. Yep. What's the best way for people to get you on their stage, Megan?
Well, my website, third-verse.com, has all of my information about my book sales, my coaching, and people can contact me there for interviews.
Well, really proud of you. You've just doing amazing things, and it's just incredible. I think it's inspiring to a lot of people, and I'm encouraging everybody to buy a box of books. Get 30 of these books, pass them out to your reading group, pass them out to your Sunday school class, pass them out to your Rotary Club or your reading group, because this is really going to be epic and impactful. And I would say if you run a book club or something like that, we can get you special pricing. Just reach out to us personally. You can reach out to Megan or reach out to myself with the contact information. And I'm sure you'd be willing to speak to a group that's going to buy 100 books, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, friends, for joining us. Megan, congratulations on your new book, How I Survived and Thrived After Sex Trafficking, is the subtitle. And I walked through fire to get here, and you did, and you lived to tell about, inspire others. Thank you so much for being with us. Go to her website, fill out the contact form, learn more, keep up with everything Megan's doing at third-verse.com. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks for having me.